Hey, Petty fans, welcome to episode 11 of the Richard Petty Motorsports podcast presented by Petty's Garage.
Presented by Petty's Garage. I'm rocking one of their t-shirts right now, tuned by Petty's Garage. You can soup your car up, pettys-garage.com, but we'll get more into that in the middle of the episode. Who do we have today?
Today we have crew chief, number 43 Chevrolet for Erik Jones, Jerry Baxter.
Jerry Baxter. He's got a lot of cool stories, a lot of good insight. He's going to be a solid one, and he's planned 2 more episodes for us after this, so or guests. So he's already being helpful.
Definitely, yeah. Jerry has been around quite a while. Started his career out in the 80s and 90s. He spent a lot of time in the truck and Xfinity series. Came on board with us here at RPM to start the 2020 season, and now he's crew chiefing for Erik, doing a great job. Really appreciate his time, and think you're going to enjoy hearing from him. So, without further ado, here's Jerry.
I'm Jerry Baxter from San Diego, California, and crew chief the 43 car.
Well, first off, it's great to just sit down and have a conversation with you because you've been here for almost a year and a half now, but
Right.
COVID hit, so I was 4 races in, and then we go to work from home and not traveling and stuff, so it's like the first time we've really had a chance to get down and to sit down and chat for a while, so I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, for sure. So I'm glad things are somewhat getting back to normal.
Yep, moving in the right direction. So what was it like growing up in San Diego?
It's a great place to visit. No, it's a beautiful town. I wouldn't want to live there, but it is a great place. It's beautiful there, and a lot of good people for sure.
Do you still go back there fairly often?
Not really. I go back like when we race Fontana or something like that. My mom still lives there, and my sisters. So I'll go back and visit them once in a while, but not very often.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I heard you talk about when you were a kid that your parents were both kind of into racing a little bit. Were they race fans, or were they actually like in the sport in some capacity?
My mom was more a race fan on the East Coast up in New York and stuff, but my dad ran a race car for, quite a few years, late model sports when it was called. So between the two of them, that's kind of what got me hooked,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So your mom's originally from the East Coast?
Yeah, from Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. I didn't realize that. And so then, what was your first foray into racing? Like, how old were you?
As far as going to the races?
Well, I know you drove a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
That was like I was maybe 16, something like that, 16, 17 years old, and I probably only did it about 4 years, and I really wanted it to happen, but it's just so expensive, and so we just faced reality and said, hey, I'm going to try and be the best crew chief I can be.
What kind of cars were you driving in those days?
They would be like a touring car, like a late model car right now.
Okay.
Like they would run at Pensacola or any of those races, like the Snowball Derby, that type of car. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you seeing any success, in that car? Like, were you winning races or running well, or?
I think I only won about 3 races in 4 years, so obviously I wasn't that great.
Well, it's still, 3 is better than goose egg, for
Absolutely,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's, you said after about 4 years, you realized that if you wanted to continue, it needed to be either in the crew chief role or something else. So you knew right then that, like, crew chiefing was probably in your future?
Well, I hope to, for sure. So, sometimes things come about and you just got to face reality, and, you want to go one way, but you go the other. So, you just got to make the best out of all that. And I think I've made the right decision for sure.
Yeah, I'd say so. I've had quite the career.
Yeah.
As a crew chief and still going. So when you kind of made that decision, I know you've talked about going to work for James Hilton. Was that your first job after taking a step away from the driver's seat? And how did that come about?
Yeah, it was my brother. He's younger than me, but he was going down to Daytona to work on a guy's car. And so I made a bunch of resumes up, and I gave them to him. And then I told him whatever it takes to get in the Cup garage, jump the fence, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Get in there and pass these out. And then James called me, and I think he called me on Saturday, and I drove to South Carolina by Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That seems like a running theme with a lot of these guys. When they got started, it's they wanted in racing. They called a guy, they got called back, and it was within a week you had to
I'll
be there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much what he told me. Be here by Tuesday and you got a job. So, you know, ran around and told the family, hey, I'm out.
Just up and drove across country?
Yeah, 15 minutes later I was gone. So,
Wow.
yeah, pretty exciting.
Golly, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you ended up, his shop was in South Carolina, is that right?
Yeah, Inman, South Carolina. It's down by Spartanburg. So, yeah.
Is that where you ended up? I know you wear a South Carolina hat all the time. So where does that connection come from?
My daughter went to the real USC.
Okay. I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
No, she went to University of South Carolina, and you know, being from the West Coast, I'd never really experienced big time college football out there. There's just like two where I was around, you know, USC or UCLA or something like that, and getting the chance to go there was like, it's pretty cool. It's like, you know, there's 85,000 people raising hell.
Yeah.
Whether they're winning or losing. It's pretty cool. So that's kind of what got me hooked. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell Chris he needs to come with me to Blacksburg here pretty soon because it's
well, you know, I'm a Wolfpacker, so we might not have 85,000 people, but we can get about 60 of them, and they're rowdy.
I'm good with Wolfpack though. That's second choice.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Well, that was actually I applied to two schools. It was Virginia Tech and NC State, so we get along pretty well.
Definitely want to go to Blacksburg for a football game though.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
It's
sure.
unreal.
Yeah.
So how's it like working with Danny then? Do y'all butt heads ever? 'Cause I know
every day.
Yeah.
It's funny thing is that Danny went to school at South Carolina.
Oh, he did?
Yes, but yet he's a Clemson fan. I think it's something to do with his dad put some kind of vaccine in him or something. I'm really not sure. But yeah, we butt heads every day.
And so what shot did you get? Pfizer, Moderna? He's like, oh, I got that Clemson.
Yeah, totally. Him and Todd Gordon drive me crazy. Two of my engineers of the past, you know, they're just like Clemson people. So,
Was Todd Gordon an engineer of yours in the past?
yeah.
That's cool.
He was my engineer at Mike Waltrip's in the Xfinity series. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we'll come back to that. So get back on track here. In your days with James Hilton, what was your first position with that team?
Well, you know, those are long time ago days, and my brother and I both did all the prep work on the cars. It was pretty much just the two of us that got everything ready every week, and then drove the hauler, did all that stuff, you know. And then he would have a pit crew show up, you know, when it was race day or something like that, you know, to kind of handle the car. But that was kind of our position, I guess. If I look back now, I guess you would call it like a car chief or something like that.
Gotcha.
So when you say prepping a car, for all us casual fans like me, what does that mean? Well, prepping it,
getting it ready to go to the race, you know, like
Okay.
like doing the setup work on it, putting the motor in, doing.
Oh,
just,
so not just like wiping it down
No,
before
no.
it goes off. You were doing
yeah,
a lot. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, were those fun times, or were you kind of ready to find something else after a little while there?
Well, I did the whole Cup season in 1980, and I only had 2 half days off. So I was tired at the end, but for sure wouldn't trade it for the world. Pretty cool experience,
Definitely.
especially when you're young, you know, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Go for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like, for me, so my first season was 19, just a couple years ago. Like, I was 24 at the time, but, like, you know, it was awesome. Like, if you don't have, like, wife and kids and dogs and all that stuff to take care of, like, being on the road every week is pretty fun.
Oh, for sure.
But I would say after 36 of them, it's like, okay, I need a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Right now, I'm kind of enjoying it. I'm doing, like, half of them, you know. And these one-day shows, like, I miss elements of practice and qualifying, but I like fly in Saturday night or Sunday morning, you know, come back Sunday night. Like, it's nice, I think.
Yeah, I'm you know, I've been in the truck series for a long time and Xfinity before that, but when I got here to do this Cup deal with Bubba, we only made it like 4 races. I think it was 4 races till they kind of shut down. And,
Yeah.
And that was the only ones with practice and all that stuff. So I really didn't know how that all rolled, other than it would take up 3 days a week, which I thought was crazy.
Yeah.
But so then when we went back, you know, it was just 1-day shows, and I totally agree with what you're saying. And now I'm kind of dreading the I think we have 8 events this year with practice and qualifying, and maybe I'm spoiled.
Yeah. But are you looking forward to having some practice time though? Just for the sake of like working with Erik on stuff, or
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. So probably it would benefit us to have some practice, no question. It's a lot more expense. It's a lot more work to have practice because you have a backup car in case something was to happen. And they've kind of talked about having a practice that's maybe only 20, 30 minutes long, but that ultimately doesn't change anything in the shop.
right?
If you have a 20-minute practice, you have to have a backup car, because
Right.
you just never know. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it, but
If we were to just, I don't know if we were having this conversation not that long ago, but if we were to just go to having qualifying, and like say we did that like the morning of race day or something, would you ever be at a point where you would feel comfortable enough to not have to bring a backup car if we just did qualifying and raced?
absolutely not.
Okay.
It's just there's too much on our shoulders, and we have too many partners to let them down if something happened, and we got to take care of that. That's what makes the world go round, for sure.
Yeah, because we debate all the time, like not having qualifying really stinks when you have a bad week and that finish carries over to your starting position the next week.
Yeah.
And so we've been talking about like, well, could we do just qualifying and take the risk and hope everything goes well? Because I can't remember a time when we tore up a car in qualifying. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But that answers that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like last week at Richmond, we had the week before at Martinsville had a parts failure, and we finished 30th, so we had to start 30th at Richmond, and that's really tough. They don't have very many cautions there. It's a long run deal, and our car wasn't great to start. Midway through the race, it was rolling, and we were pretty happy, but maybe we'd had practice or qualifying that we could have nipped that off to start with, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's an interesting trade-off because you save so much not having to do that backup car, but we're in a spot too where practice and qualifying could help. So
Right.
I don't know how you find that balance, but
Right.
Yeah, I'm getting slightly. I'm going to take this thing off the rails, but when I watch the race at home, I like to put the scanner on, put it on a Bluetooth speaker so you can really hear it. And man, I tell you what, that boy Erik Jones, he gives some feedback. I mean, there is a lot of information he gives you. So sometimes
it
during
at
the
least
green flag
appears that
run,
way.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
it appears
he's
that way.
giving you entry, mid corner, exit, and I feel like when you listen to the scanner of some other dudes, they don't give you that much information. And kind of what's that like?
That's what makes him who he is, and it's amazing to me that I'm not even sure how old he is, 24, 25 years old.
I think he's 24.
Yeah. That he's got that much, maturity about driving. But, realistically, he's, fifth year in this Cup Series, or fourth or fifth year. So, I kind of expect that he's going to be pretty good at it,
Yeah.
So, it helps a lot. It definitely helps.
Yeah,
So.
and it seems from on his end, because I feel like there's some guys that's high emotion, but I feel like he gives very constructive feedback.
Yeah, a lot of the guys, that I've worked with over the years, they kind of lose their mind when things aren't perfect. And Erik seems pretty chill about everything. He's like, we'll get this.
Yeah, especially we were running 29th and 30th, and I'm sitting there like, come on, what is going on? But he's giving feedback. Y'all are making changes, and next thing you know, mid-race, short track at a place like Richmond, and we're passing cars on track, and that was cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, people see P19 and they don't realize to get there. That was a grind, and I was happy for the team.
Yeah, I was too.
We went green flag run for 5 years or something the other day.
It seemed like it, didn't it?
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
So, but I say awful. I don't know. There was a lot. Some people like that, but I'd like a little bit more break up in the action. We needed it. I mean, I was just praying for a yellow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So was I at certain points, for sure.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit. So, what was your relationship like with Ernie Irvin? I know you guys kind of crossed paths a lot at one point.
Yeah.
When did that start, and like, kind of how were you guys together for a little bit there?
So when I left South Carolina from James Hilton, I went back to the West Coast, and went to work for a guy named Ivan Baldwin, building chassis for race cars, and Ernie was one of the employees there. So Ernie was pretty rough around the edges, and he really didn't do a nice enough quality, project. Like, he couldn't weld to make it look good enough to sell to the public. And so what Ernie did is he ended up being my prep guy. Like, he would bend all the roll cages, he would cut all the frames, he would do all that stuff, and then I would assemble it. So that's not bad on his part. He did his job, so that was good. Anyhow, so we did that for quite a few years, and then he ended up moving back here. I ended up buying the company later on, and came back. I don't know what year I came back here, probably about 96, 97, something like that, from California, and then went to work for Ernie. He had the Federated Auto Parts truck with Boris Said driving, and so I went there.
So he owned the team, and Boris was a driver at that time?
He owned the team with Mark Simo, who owned No Fear, the apparel company.
Yep.
Yeah, so they kind of owned us together, and then so I went to work there, and then a few months into it, started crew chief in the car for the truck for him, and we just been best friends forever. So
Dude.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, I had told a story to Bradley earlier, and I hate to talk too much, but I had 4 eye surgeries when I was a kid at Duke University, right? And when Ernie had his accident, he got his eye surgeries at Duke University.
Right.
Well, when I had my eye surgeries, I was a kid. I didn't want to wear my eye patch. And, Ernie had his eye patch. So I don't know what happened, but Ernie sent me a signed picture. We didn't ask for it. Sent me a signed picture of him wearing his eye patch that said, "Keep wearing that eye patch." And if it wasn't for that picture, I slept with that picture when I was a kid.
That's cool.
And man, if you can send Ernie my thank yous, that would mean
Absolutely.
I might not have vision if it wasn't for that picture, that
Absolutely.
one picture. That's all. That's all.
I'll definitely do that for sure.
That's a great story. Yeah.
He actually, when he came back to racing after the first accident, he actually wore the patch, and I think his debut race was Wilkesboro, maybe, and I think he finished 6th.
With the patch on?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the Cup Series. Pretty cool.
That's amazing.
No depth perception.
Nah.
Just guessing it.
I'm not sure he had any of that anyways with 2 eyes. So. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're going to have to get him on, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say that we have our wish list, and Ernie, just selfishly, is one that I'd just like to. I don't even know what I'd ask him, but I'd definitely tell him thank you.
Yeah, right on. Right on.
We'll tell him Jerry said he needed to come on.
I could probably arrange that for you.
Hey.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah. We'll get back to you, Jerry, though. I'm sorry.
yeah. Took it off the rails again.
Yeah.
Yeah. You worked with a lot of different people. Who was somebody that, and you may not want to answer it, but I'm going to ask anyways. Who's somebody that you think like had a ton of talent and just never got the opportunity to showcase it?
Wow, that's a tough one. Like, my whole career, I've had all the young kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was at Michael Waltrip's for about 12 years maybe, and I went through so many young kids, some of them weren't so young, but some, they're all inexperienced, from David Rudiman to Trevor Bain, Scott Speed, both the Truexes, went on and on. I don't really know. I don't really have an answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
I really just don't. So I had a lot of fun working with some of them. One of them was Scott Speed, and to the public, he came off. He was pretty different, but when we were doing our deal, he was in, all in. So we had a good time with him. But I've actually had a good time with every one of them, truthfully. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So then you said you were at Michael Waltrip's for a while. The way I want to frame this is compare and contrast Michael Waltrip and Kyle Busch as team owners.
Ooh, that's a good one. Michael Waltrip, as you know, he went 0 for 462. That's a lot of races without winning. Mm-hmm. And then he finally won. But his direction was different from Kyle's in that he was able to promote the product really good. He brought in the money. He brought in the associates. He brought in everything. He did a really good job with that. Kyle, on the other hand, is about one thing:
winning.
Yeah, he absolutely refuses to finish second. So when I did the truck deal there with Bubba and a couple others, it's like every Monday when we have the post-race debrief. I don't know how he did it, but he knew every lap. And I don't know if he studied YouTube before the meetings, or I just don't know. But he knew everything about it, and he questioned everything that you did, and he expected results, which obviously made us all better. So 2 different kinds of people for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How often did he come in? I think this question gets asked a lot of guys that drive full-time in the Cup Series but also own a team. How often do you see him every week, and how focused in is he on that truck team?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much there every day when I was there. He was pretty much there every day. Very thorough in the post-race meetings with all the drivers. Didn't play no favoritism. If they screwed up, he let them know. If they did good, he let them know. But it was always about how can we make this thing better, so that was kind of our deal.
It's pretty impressive to be able to compete in the Cup Series at a high level and also manage a truck team at the same time.
Right.
That's pretty impressive, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't think many people give him that credit, but yeah. So moving from the trucks back up to Cup, what surprised you most about the Cup Series in 2020, 2021 that maybe you weren't expecting?
Well, when I left the Truck Series, I had Brett Moffitt driving at GMS, and I think we won 4 or 5 races that year. We didn't win the championship. We finished 3rd at Homestead, which, you lose when you do that. But I thought, this is good. I just won 16 truck races or whatever it is, 15, 16 truck races. This is easy. And then Bubba calls me and says, hey, you want to come do this Cup deal? I'm like, hell no. I want to be on the lake on Sundays.
Right.
And he's like, no, you got to come do it, dude. You got to come. And so when we started talking seriously, he's like, first thing you need to know, you got to curb your expectations because this is not easy. And he was right, so I never thought I'd be happy about finishing top 10. Like, it's just different, so like this year, I think we're 8 races in and we only have 2 top 10s, and it's like, but he did say curb your expectations. So that's been my biggest shock, I think, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to convey that to a fan base too, who, if you don't win, they just seem to be up in arms.
Oh, for sure.
And it's so hard to and you just can't do it. But I look at things on the social media side because of what I do, and you're smart enough to stay off of that stuff, which I'd commend you and wish I could say the same sometimes. But it's just hard to make it. It's one of the reasons why we started the podcast, was to go more in depth on everything that makes this ship run, because we're hopeful that it's not making excuses. It's just opening the doors a little bit to say, look, this is reality. This is how things work. And this is why not everybody's going to win every week. And, and when you look at the level of competition too, you start counting the cars that are crazy amount of resources, and you hit 16, 20 cars pretty quickly. Right. And then when you look at it that way, and you're like, we gotta shoot above our weight class a little bit just to break into that top 15. Really puts things in perspective, I think. Right, for sure. I mean, you got 4 Hendrick cars, you got 4 Penske, you got 4 JGR, on down the line, and then I think there's 20 something really, really good cars. Yeah, so, definitely. So the difference between our company and a lot of them is, I think here at RPM, I think we have maybe about 35 employees total, counting the office and everything. And I'll say counting us. Yeah. And I think that if you're at JGR or Hendrick or one of those places, I believe they got to have 350, 400, and that's a lot more brain power and on and on. So I think we do a pretty decent job of what we're doing, for sure. And it brings a different perspective when you're looking at the leaderboard on the left side of the screen. Right. And when you see certain teams, not just the 43, but other teams, when they start making it into the top 10, top 15,
you're pulling for those. You're pulling for those guys, and it's like, wow. And
I'm not. I'm pulling for us.
No, well, I mean, I'm pulling for us, obviously, but you start to look at the names and the teams that are behind you that you've passed on track, and that gets me going.
Right. Yeah, you know, my deal is I have to pull for us so much because on Tuesdays, Dale Inman and Richard Petty stop by and they want to know what the hell. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? So I think they watch the race better than anybody.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I'm okay with that. You know,
Yeah.
What a pleasure. So,
Chris, how are you looking on your time? Do we need to
let's
break right quick?
Yeah, I'm wearing my Tuned by Petty Petty's Garage shirt, so let's go ahead and hear a word from our sponsor, Petty's Garage.
Sounds good.
Welcome to Petty's Garage. Every one of our strut bars and coil covers are handmade right here in my hometown, Level Cross, North Carolina. Just like our old race cars, everything that comes out of here is first class. Now, you probably know my favorite color, but we still make these things in every color you can imagine. You've got the power to make your car go and show exactly how you want. Visit Petty's-Garage.com to check out all the parts, engines, and tuning we've got to offer.
And we're back. And speaking of Petty's Garage, my T-shirt, you can't see it because I'm not on camera, says Tuned by Petty at Petty's Garage. As far as tuning goes in the street cars, you know, they've got the computers in them, and we've got a guy at our shop, Matt Glad, who can just take that and just smooth out that power curve and have power from, you know, slow speeds to top speeds. Do we have anything like that in the Cup cars, or is it all engine?
No, it's similar to that for sure. You know, they pre-program it. They have engine brake on the things where you let off and it brakes the motor, slows the motor, I should say.
Yeah.
But you know, all the fuel and the timing, all that stuff, it's all pre-done on the computer. The motor, if you were to get it hot, it automatically goes into safety mode and dumps fuel in it so that cool it down and takes timing out. There's a lot of things to it that do it. But yeah, the motors are pretty protected because of the computer for sure. Not like they were back in the day, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know that.
That's why you don't see as many failures these days, too, right?
Correct. Yeah. And the parts are so good nowadays, you know. So yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Before we went to break, Jerry had just mentioned that the King and Dale come into the office on Tuesdays and give him a little debrief. We had a fan question from Twitter that asked, does Dale offer up some crew chief pointers and just talk a little bit more about what it's like when him and the King come in and how those conversations go.
Okay, so Dale comes in every Tuesday morning. He shows up around 8 o'clock in the morning. He walks in my office, sits down and said, "All right, let me hear it." So I tell him what went on, and I got to tell you, he's probably 80 years old, 85 years old. I don't know.
He's older than Richard. I think Richard's 83.
Yeah.
So Dale might be 84, 85, something like that.
But damn, he's smart.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the winningest crew chief in the history of NASCAR. You know, 8 championships and 200 something wins. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But reality is he's still up to speed on everything, and definitely opens my eyes to things. Never really rides my butt hard like you screwed this up or whatever. Now, Richard, that's different, but but he's the owner, so you know how that goes.
Yeah, Richard's the owner. Dale's just advisory board.
right, for sure.
Well, I guess that means you could consider yourself having gone to Dale Inman University.
Oh, for sure. And you know, when they come in here every week, it's like they'll sit in my office, and I'm like, wow. There's like 1 million people on the planet right now that would do anything to sit where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
You know, good, bad, or indifferent, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
We had to think about that, too, when we had him on the podcast. And, you know, I was like, after we wrapped up, I was like, man, we just sat down and had an hour-long conversation with Dale Inman where we got to ask him whatever we wanted and just BS and go back and forth. And I was like,
and there's probably 1 million people out there that could have done it better than we did, but we got to do it. So
exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
And then we were pulling out going to lunch yesterday out of Petty's Garage, and here comes Dale playing chicken with us, and he didn't turn.
Because we were coming out the exit as he's pulling in his truck.
So you were the chicken.
I was the chicken.
That's okay.
He was messing with me.
Oh, I love Dale. He's such a good personality.
Yeah.
Funny as hell too.
For sure.
Let's go back here. So, has there ever been a call on top of the pit box that you made that just worked out so perfectly you couldn't believe it?
I know that there's a lot that have been the other way.
Okay, that was my next question.
For sure.
Yeah.
One time at Michigan in the Truck Series, I had Bubba Wallace, and we had a 10-second lead on the field. And the fuel cells hold 18.5 gallons, and we were down to 17, a gallon and a half left in the tank, and it ran out of fuel. Oh, my God, devastated. We ended up finishing 10th, and we had a 10-second lead. So that was the kind of opposite of what you're asking right there. But as far as, making the exact right call, I think the bad things always stick out in your brain better than the good things, right? So I don't know.
So that truck race at Michigan, you think that's like top of the list of ones that got away?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. So have that.
Yeah, those memories of what doesn't work out sometimes, I guess, stick out better than
Right.
the ones that do. Yeah.
Right, for sure.
What's it like working with Rick on the spotter stand this year? How far do you guys go back? Because it seems like we know each other pretty well.
It's pretty cool to work with Rick because he's older than me. But
You remind him of that often?
absolutely every weekend. But no, it's cool. We known each other for forever. He was a West Coast racer too from Denver, and he would come out there to Bakersfield and race every weekend, and all around the West Coast. So we known each other forever, and I had actually had him as my spotter back, I don't know what year, like maybe 2012. I had Cale Gale driving the truck for us, and Rick was a spotter. And
There's a name you don't hear very often.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember the final race of the year, we were at Homestead, and Kyle Busch is just kicking everybody's tail like normal. And then I had saved a set of tires, kind of back to your last question. I'd saved a set of tires, and caution comes out with a couple to go. And I think we're running like 12th like we ran every week, which just disgusted me.
Right.
But anyhow, we came
Because 12th in the truck series at the level you were at is just not where you want to be, right?
That's like 30th in the Cup Series.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put, not to cut you off, but that's a great way to put, like, in perspective, the truck series versus the Cup Series and where you're running and how you feel. So
Right.
12th in the truck series is almost like 30th in the Cup Series.
That's kind of what I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was that hard until the last year and a half. But anyhow, so we came down pit road and put those 4 tires on, and they threw the green. I think we had like maybe 3 laps to go, 3 laps to go, and then coming to the checkered flag, past Kyle, coming to the line, ended up both of us wrecked, but we went across the line in front, and that was pretty big. And
That's awesome.
I know Cale was in the truck, but I feel like Rick was actually driving it. 'Cause
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
He was whipping him like a horse. It was pretty cool.
We're gonna have to go find a replay of that. That was coming to the line. They're beating and banging, hitting each other, and
Oh yeah.
and y'all come across first.
Yep. It's pretty cool. And then ironically, I left there after that race was over to go to KBM to work for Kyle, and the team they gave me was the team that we had beat, and I think half of them kind of hated me from the start.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
man.
I had to do a little personnel rebuilding there, to get them to get on my side.
Taking guys out to lunch for the first few
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
I love listening to Rick on the spot on the, what do you call it, the radio.
Yeah.
I love listening to him, man.
Yeah.
He'll have you cracking up.
He's pretty confident.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah.
He's got good reason to be, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you definitely notice his racing background and experience come into play when he's spotting.
Well, I mean, it totally helps because, everything he says, he knows. He knows what he's talking about. And fortunately for us, Erik really trusts him. I wouldn't want to be up there. There's no chance. But,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but he really trusts whatever Rick says, and so do I. So it's good.
Especially during super speedway races, I think would just be just thinking about it's so nerve wracking, right?
Yeah,
Listen to those guys, like, when they tell you can make a lane change and you go for it, that's them being right or wrong is the difference between 16 cars going on the truck, right?
Yeah, we were getting off the plane coming home from Richmond last week, and I told Rick, I said, next week it's all on you, dog, not on us, because whatever you unload is what you got, and the spotter is so integral at those speedway races.
Yeah. So what's your mindset like a week like this when you're going to a super speedway race? Are you nervous, excited, combination of both, or is it just business as usual, see what happens?
No, definitely a combination of both.
Okay.
You go to these races, we need a shot to win, and these races are hard to win. And you see speedway racing is everything's so equaled out, and you see the 500 this year with Michael McDowell winning. Not that he's bad, he's
Right.
great, but it just gives you hope that you can rip one off there.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that such a weird kind of paradox that your best chances to win are also some of the most difficult races to win?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, and you kind of know going in, like, hey, we got this much chance of surviving this thing,
Yeah.
So you kind of know that going in. So, that's a good mindset to have. At least but, you hope for the best.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we're taking another really good-looking car to a super speedway race.
It is pretty cool with Air Force and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited about them getting the opportunity to be in the car, and, excited for a whole team for that.
Yeah, it's wicked looking.
Definitely. We talk about paint schemes a lot because I get the opportunity to put some of them together.
Right.
And you always like to give me your feedback. What are some of your favorites that we've had, and then do you have like a favorite all time that you've like been on?
Nah, I don't know. I've had so many, but as far as your stuff this year, really like the Armor All car. That was pretty badass.
Yeah.
Petty garage car. I love that car. I don't know right offhand. One of them I complimented you to death on. I can't remember what car it was.
The Clash car we had, I think, was kind of cool.
Which was
the RP Funding Clash car,
the
blue that faded in and out. And
yeah,
stuff.
that was pretty awesome. So, I mean, I think the Air Force car this weekend looks pretty good too.
Yeah, it does. It's well, we've released it now, so we can talk about it. It's the Tuskegee Airman homage, and it's like nice light gray base with the red tail and the striped graphics around the front, the black hood.
Right.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, and a video that I made is going to be, well, by the time I get this edited and out, that video will be out. But we did a little behind the scenes video of the shoot that we did.
The production day.
The production day shoot. So that
Aren't you glad you didn't have to come down and do all that?
So glad.
I think we need to get back to that. I think we need to get back to including crew chiefs in all the photo shoots.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna vote no. Just my thoughts. But.
Yeah, we had Chris Hussey on a few weeks ago and pulled up a picture from like the early 90s when he was on the Penrose Hot Sausage. I think it was Bobby Labonte's Busch car.
Yep.
And it was like him and Bobby like in the photo shoot stuff. I was like, yeah, we got to get Jerry back.
He's Dale's son-in-law, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We had to make sure we asked about that. And,
yeah, for sure.
His stories of Dale, like when he was first coming around, were not as much of like the horror stories that we were hoping for. He's like, but then you get to know Dale, and Dale's actually kind of a big softie too.
Oh yeah. He's tough though.
Oh yeah, tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah, that knuckle comes into your. Does he ever do that? Like, does he ever get you with the knuckle?
I call it the horse bite.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like it. For sure.
Oh, that's funny. So let's see. I think now's a good time to take a few of our fan questions.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up.
#AskRPM for those that are listening.
Yeah. So first off, thank you to everybody who listened and submitted a question using hashtag AskRPM on Twitter and all of our social pages. But the first one we'll just go to is coming off of Twitter. And let me see.
Bradley, big dog, you got to have these things screenshotted.
I mean, come on.
Well, I know. It was late
man.
night. It was late night last night.
Glad you're not making the pit call right now.
I could never do it. I could never be a crew chief. I am too bad in high panic situations, high pressure situations where you got to like make quick decisions.
I'm not that good at it either, but you just got to roll. You got to go.
No, actually, we're going to Facebook. And the question comes in from Brandy Patton, and she asked if Jerry could share your favorite racing memory.
I'm kind of thinking that my favorite memory is probably going to come this year.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. Second favorite memory is winning Eldora dirt race with Bubba.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Pretty unexpected.
Right.
Yeah. So,
what's that event like, and how disappointed are you that we don't get to do it this year?
I mean, we ran Bristol, the dirt race, so I love it. I was excited about the deal with Bubba because my brother actually builds dirt cars in Albuquerque for California and Arizona and Nevada, or all those places out there. And then he was there to help me build shocks, did all the stuff for it, and so that was a pretty big deal, you know. So, but
awesome.
I love going to it. It's something different. So
Yeah. Definitely. This next question comes in from our friend Brian Snare. Do you enjoy being a Cup crew chief more than trucks, and do you envision continuing to stay in the Cup Series?
That's a good question. The series are so different, and it's taken me a year to kind of get a grasp around what's going on these Cup cars. You know, the rules are so different, the competition is so different. But I truthfully I love them both. You know, for sure.
Definitely.
So.
Next question coming off of Twitter from Andrew at ALAR11. What is your favorite part about being a crew chief?
I don't know. I don't know. I got the greatest job on earth. Do I not?
Yeah. Well, I think so.
I think so.
I think so for sure. Other than maybe what you guys do, but I pretty much.
We got it pretty good.
Yeah.
It's
I pretty much do have the greatest job on earth. I don't know what it is, but I love it. So makes me tick.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great. I think that's good for this week. Remember, if you're listening, if you want to ask a question for us or a future guest, just keep an eye out. Use hashtag AskRPM, and we'll be sure to throw those in.
Yeah, we hate to end it so quick, but Jerry's got another meeting he's got to roll to. These crew chiefs, man, they stay busy.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to be the reason that Jerry doesn't make a meeting.
Right.
So.
Right.
Hey, well, I appreciate everybody listening in on this. Hope it went all right.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. Had a lot of fun, and get you back on at some point.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that was our interview with Jerry Baxter, and really appreciate Jerry coming on, spending some time with us, telling about his career, his path in NASCAR, starting out in California, coming to the East Coast, going back to California, coming back to the East Coast, working with some pretty cool names, like, of course, Ernie Irvin's in there.
My boy.
Yeah.
Ernie doesn't even know it, but that's my boy.
Yeah. He'll know it. We'll get to him at some point.
I hope so.
Jerry's worked for guys like Michael Waltrip and Kyle Busch, and like we talked about, those are two very different team owner mentalities, but he's got great perspective and talked a lot about kind of where we're at this season and what he's looking forward to coming into Talladega this week. So that was awesome. And speaking of Talladega, we've got, like we said, the U.S. Air Force Tuskegee Airmen scheme that's going to be
love it
on the number 43 this
love
weekend. Don't know where we're starting yet. I need to look, but like I said, we finished 19th at Richmond, so that should help us a little bit. Although at Talladega, does it really matter? I don't know.
Well, the way we were looking for the Daytona 500, we were, like we said in the Erik Jones and Rick Corelli podcast, we were making our way up through the field. Eric was getting a good feel for the car, just picking people off, finding the right lines, and then, they got a little racy a little soon, but that performance has got me extremely, even if it was only a couple laps, has got me really excited. Really excited for this weekend.
Yeah, I think our super speedway cars are always very solid. When we go to Daytona and Talladega, we know that the equipment that we're in has given us every opportunity to win the race if we can. So it'll be interesting to see. We didn't really get into much about strategy, whether it's hanging in the back, trying to drive to the front. And I don't know what's the right answer there, because I have seen all strategies work and all strategies fail. So
yeah. I mean, from my iRacing perspective, I want to be first place. Y'all push me around the track, but if you can't be first place getting pushed around the track, is there a good place to be?
Right, that's the thing. If you're the pole sitter, then your strategy is pretty easy. Stay up front
and
keep everybody behind me. If everybody's behind you, then it's not much that can go wrong. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
And thankfully, behind the wheel, we've got a guy that's wanted a super speedway in a Cup car before. So
that's right.
That's always going to be a little.
Yeah, and we got a guy on top of the roof who's got a lot of driving experience and is cool as a cucumber and fun to listen to on the radio.
I wonder what he would say if he was here. Cool as a cucumber. I feel like he would say that. He would give a bowling. Rick Corelli would give a bowling reference, 100%. But I'm not. I did make an A- when I had bowling in college. I did take a bowling class.
You
college.
did?
Yeah.
Oh, so I went to like a real school, so didn't have to.
Yeah. I also took bees and beekeeping, and I also took turf grass management. So one day my yard's going to look great.
Yeah, I keep saying that, but my yard continues to look like crap.
You got those trees in the west, so
and it slopes downwards. So like when it rains, like all the areas that need it, it just keeps on moving down.
And this is when everybody in the podcast just tunes out. So
okay, well let's talk about Richmond for a second.
Yeah.
So go to Richmond, have to start 30th, and which is no fun, and then fired off not super well at the time, and I'm sure many people were kind of wondering what was going on, but the great thing about having a guy like Erik Jones behind the wheel is that he knows that he just needs to give as good a feedback as possible, tell Jerry and the crew what's going on, and he has full faith in them to tune it up, and that's exactly what we did. Middle to late in the race, we were really clicking off some good lap times, and I think if it wouldn't have been for, there's always, you can look back and hindsight's 20/20, right?
Yeah.
But if it wouldn't have been for that early caution, right around lap like 150-ish or something, that first round of green flag stops is what it was.
Yeah.
And we were kind of staying out, and then everybody came to pit road, and that kind of forces your hand, because if you don't at that point, you're going to be a sitting duck.
Yep. So
call Erik to pit road, come to get service, takes off from the box right then. Caution.
What we were waiting for.
So that kind of put us in a hole early, and then after that, you got long green flag runs for the rest of the day, and that makes it very difficult to pick your way back up to where you need to be.
But I tell you what he did, though. I mean,
he got about as far forward as he could with the circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
To see him picking up spots on track like that is always really nice to see, and especially when we have these races where we can practice and qualify, and Erik Jones is going to get the job done 100%.
Yeah, Erik said after the race that definitely learned a lot from that day in Richmond, and can't ask for too much more than that. So we'll take that. We'll take a learning experience with a half decent finish. Go to Talladega. Swing for the fences.
Literally.
And I love going to Talladega. I'm so excited.
Talladega. I don't know the rest of the words.
The rest of the words don't matter. That's what matters. And then after Talladega is Kansas, so we've got that to look forward to. Like we said, got the great looking U.S. Air Force car.
Man.
It's going to be on track this weekend. Just getting jacked up. Weather's getting warm. Moving in the right direction.
Weather's great, man. Yeah. It's things are looking good, and I'm really excited for what we've got coming up. We've got 2 guests scheduled after this one, so we as of yesterday before we just did our interview with Jerry, we had 3 guests lined up.
Don't tell them that. We need to make it seem like we're lined up. No. But still, our next guest is going to be Martha Jane Bunkemeyer. I'm really excited about that, and most people are going to have no idea who that is except for the diehard Petty fans. And go ahead and tell us about Martha Jane. Well, Martha Jane was Richard's assistant for a number of years, all the way up until the early 2000s, I believe, like 02, 03. We'll have her tell us. But yeah, she was kind of the person in level cross that kept everything running smoothly. I've mentioned to a couple people that used to work at the shop back in the day that she was coming on, and the first thing they both said the same thing. It was all I can think of when I think of Martha Jane is her coming over the PA going like, "Attention employees, attention," So we're gonna have to get her to do one of those for us.
Yeah. But everybody, especially if you're listening to this podcast and you're not from the South, you're not going to understand what this means. But the people in the South are going to understand it. Martha Jane is a hoot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She is a hoot.
Yeah, she's got a big spirit, very funny, super kind. really looking forward to having her on. And hopefully, she will be able to share with us some stories and insight into like what it's like working with Richard on a personal level, right?
And then how do you get Richard from A to B when he doesn't have a cell phone? And especially back in the day when there weren't cell phones. Like, how do you keep track of Richard Petty?
Yeah, so we're going to hopefully go to school on tracking down Richard Petty 101. Yeah. And that should be a lot of fun, so I can't wait.
And then the guest we have on after that, we're not going to tell you who it is, but it's going to be awesome as well. So we'll tease that one for a little bit, but definitely stay tuned.
Yep. So I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. Always appreciate everybody subscribing. Remember, break it down. We are on YouTube. You can watch full-length video with Chris's face on now.
Making it on now. What's up, everybody?
Yeah. Watch us on YouTube. Listen on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Make sure you subscribe, like, and review to all of those channels because we want to know how we're doing. If it's good and you like it, we appreciate that. If you got some constructive criticism, we'll take it and we'll take it into consideration. And definitely want to know who you'd like to see as guests in future episodes. We're working to put together a schedule and a list of a wish list of the people we want to contact and get on here and hear their stories.
And we've got a lot of really awesome people, not just people that have been guests, but a lot of people within our organization and even people outside of our organization that are really leaning in and helping us to leaning in. There goes me using my buzzwords. That are really leaning in to help us get really interesting guests. So that's exciting for us, and it's exciting to see people actually use Ask RPM. And get interested in the show and have people that we don't know being like, hey, your podcast is really interesting. That's pretty cool to hear. But for those of you that are listening that really enjoy the podcast, that have friends that maybe don't know about it, go ahead, tell your friends. And if you really enjoy it and they say, well, where can I find it? Tell them everywhere.
Yep.
Just look it up. Richard Petty Motorsports Podcast. Like you said, Spotify, YouTube. We're out there and we're easy to find.
Definitely. Thanks again to Petty's Garage for presenting another episode of the RPM podcast. Thank you all for listening and supporting. Can't do it without you. So we appreciate that, and we will see you next time. Peace.